Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and welcome to Hump Day, and of course, 3 more days to Old St. Nick. Quick couple of updates. We will be closed. Patriot will be closed on Friday for Christmas Eve. KXXT in Phoenix is closed. 1360 is closed. However, I do know that Liberty Revolt, our morning show on 1360, Bucky and Kevin will do a special Liberty Revolt there in the morning, but otherwise the station will be closed. Obviously, Saturday, Christmas, and then we'll be back to our regular weekend schedule at 1360 starting on Sunday. And then guess what? We'll do it all again next Friday for New Year's Eve as well. Metals plans, we've actually started. Brittany's actually started a little bit. We've been having some of the pickups come in and some of the shipments going out, but those will really start going out in earnest next week, and we're going to be right through those. January starts a new quarter, so those of you looking to sign up for the metals plan, now is the time to do it. 800-951-0592. As always, I'm joined with my partner Jason in Colorado. We got Joey back. Joey's been working. He doesn't get any time off. You know, a lot of the college kids, they're on break. Joey's actually has a job, so he's been working for the last several days. He's back in studio with us as well today. We'll cover some 401k stuff, going over some of the classic mistakes people make in handling their 401ks, and probably more important now, and Joey will get into it, about with all the people quitting jobs to get better jobs, or quitting jobs because I'm not going to get the vaccine mandate, and a lot of those people, they may be already, near or at retirement, thinking about or deciding, hey, I'm just going to retire instead. What do you do with that money? Joey's going to go over all of that with you. Jason, Pure Blood coins, they're done, right? We sold out. Yeah,
we're sold out. We're trying to get everybody in that's reserved them, because sometimes people reserve things and they don't show up. So we're going to make sure. So if there's a couple of them floating around here in Colorado, you can call or step in and ask me. So go ahead and get a hold of me if you're in Colorado. But otherwise, Joe, yeah, we don't have anything. We can't tell people to call in and just order them because they're not here. There's no more.
Yeah, that was a home run. By the way, get ready. We are going to have the second series coming out soon. So obviously in early 2022, Jason, that's kind of the timeline you have for our second series.
Yeah, let's collect the money on this one and get it all in the bag and done. And then because you don't want to buy the next one until you actually finish the first one off. But
we're not pre-selling them right now, but we are definitely. I'm letting you know, you'll have another. If you missed out on this one, you'll get another shot here with round 2. It's going to be a little bit different, and then a lot of people can collect them. Because we haven't decided. Jason's kind of working on the program. We may have 4 or 5 in the series on this. So we'll give you more details later. Jason's probably mad at me because I'm letting the cat out of the bag. Problem is, I got people calling. They want the Pure Blood coins, and I'm like, hey, so we're out, but hey, be ready. We're going to have another round coming out.
Joe, my plan is I think we should do 2 or 3 coins, maybe 4 coins next year, and then I think starting in 2023 it'll be an annual coin. Because I think the best way to do it is to get the different ideas we have out there, and then every year people will look forward to the new coin. So I think everyone's going to appreciate it. We're not going to sit there and milk the audience of hey, you need to buy a coin every single month. We're not going to do that, but we will release several next year, I believe. So I think that's the best way to go.
There you go. So, and if you have any issues or complaints, that is Jason Walker. The coins are, listen, they're here. Phoenix people, we've been calling you to come get them. shout out to Jason. Jason, he worked with the Moonlight Mint for that design, and they're just great. They're awesome looking. They come. We've got them encapsulated as well, so they're protected.
I'll say this, Joe. I'll say this. I think the value of these coins went up after Biden's speech last night.
Oh boy, man! I'll tell you what. I watched it, and two things came to mind. Man, if you had a drinking game for every time he said vaccinated or unvaccinated, you probably would have been in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. And then, what is with him and the whispering? I haven't figured this out.
That shows the American public that he cares. That's why he does that.
Is that
yes.
See, now, I didn't get that because I'm just like, and I think the way he does it, I think that's what he intended.
But it's creepy.
It's creepy. It's creepy. There's a reason why Trump was like, his name's Creepy Joe. It was creepy. Get vaccinated, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know. It was like poltergeist. I don't know. It was. I don't think anybody was moved in one way or the other after that speech. I think, matter of fact, even CNN, when they were interviewing their little guest hosts, were like, 500 million test kits. That's not going to do anything, right?
It's going to do something, Joe. It's going to do something.
Yeah. A lot of fluff and a whole lot of nothing. We'll be right back. Patriot Radio News Hour. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe Jake with Jason Walker, and got Joey here live in studio. And, we didn't know what direction was gold and silver going to head. It's heading up today. Gold's up a dozen, making a baker's dozen, back above 1,800. Silver. A good day in the silver market. Silver's up about 30 cents here, closing back in on $23. Yesterday, we ran those door stops and paperweights, those 100-ounce silver bars. They're all gone. We sold through all the 100-ounce silver bars, all the 10-ounce silver bars. Congratulations. That was a great timing for everybody. Something that we've been talking a lot about, inflation. Of course, you got to. The president didn't mention anything about inflation. Well, actually, to say, again, here's the idiocracy of what we're dealing with. And I hate to keep drawing the comparisons to the 70s, but it's like almost like a carbon copy, because we have a very weak Federal Reserve president. Obviously, Jay Powell can't find his ass with both his hands. Right, and stuck to this ridiculous transitory. You got to remember, he actually started with there's not going to be any inflation.
Yep.
To this ridiculous narrative that it's just going to be transitory inflation, right? And here I am, right? Who am I? I'm an absolute nobody from nowhere. A year ago, saying, "What is this guy talking about?" Well, I mean, look at what the data is saying. There's nothing transitory about any of this stuff, and how weak he is. You look at Joe Biden's number, especially when it comes to the economy. His numbers are worse than Jimmy Carter's numbers. There was an energy crisis back then. Really, you can talk about it, and we've gotten off lucky so far on the energy side. Compared to, say, what's happening in Europe and other places. We've got roaring inflation, and I guess the only thing a little bit different is there's not the Vietnam War going on. Instead, it's COVID, where all the money's been coming from. But it just doesn't stop. General Mills came out yesterday. Man, their CEO, he just laid it all out on the line yesterday. Said, I've never seen anything like this in my 27 years in the industry. Well, think about it. Inflation's really the worst it's been in 50 years, maybe ever. Saying that, talking about how challenging and how many issues there are, and supply disruptions and driver service levels and cost, and and announcing, of course, General Mills already increased prices multiple times last year. He just said, okay, listen, we're doing it again in January. And then threw out something that I think we're going to see a lot of. Oh, and by the way, we're just going to be increasing prices throughout the entire year. In other words, we're not going to come out every single day. We're just going to start increasing prices. And of course, how do they increase prices? Well, let's put less stuff in it, right? Hey, we're going to take 2 ounces out of every box out of the cereal box. We're going to take a couple of diapers out of the package. We're going to put less toilet paper on the toilet paper rolls and all of those things. Jason, we've been warning our listeners. They have no idea what's really coming in 2022, and General Mills getting it started already.
Yeah, the inflation next year, I don't see how it can't be, twice as bad. I see twice as bad inflation next year, Joe, because there are far too many factors against any kind of improvement. And like you said, the easiest cure for the Fed would be just to raise interest rates significantly and crash the markets, because what do? You either fight inflation or you support the markets and print. And they're not going to print more. Well, they're going to print more, but they're not going to print significantly more to fix things. They're just going to make it worse. So they've made their choice. They're going to taper. They're going to show that they're going to try to slowly, pull the Band-Aid off slowly. But then when things start rocking and rolling next year and getting really bad, and the inflation is just going to blow up, these shortages on the shelves are going to be massive next year. Then they're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off fast, Joe. And whether that be interest rates going up or a new monetary system completely, whatever emergency they concoct, it'll be very bad for all of us to have to support the weight of their decisions.
I want to put this out there. So they had the second revision to third quarter GDP today. It was at 2.3%.
Yeah, it's not good.
Think about where honestly, you better make sure you've got your wealth with the right people. I'm just telling you right now, there is a major bloodbath coming. You cannot have inflation, which is understated, which we know is not true, running at 7%, according to Jay Powell and all his cronies, which we know just housing alone, if you just used a fake number that was only half of what the real inflation in housing is, you would have inflation of double digits. If you actually used the real inflation in housing and really shelter, you'd have inflation at all-time record highs outside of, wartime. So you go back to the 70s, and in the 70s, you had inflation 10, 12, 14%. We would be above that. And only have 2% GDP growth. It is a huge, huge problem. And remember, this is third quarter. So July, August, September, that was still, people still had a lot of that money that was sloshing around. The Fed was still full blown in their bond purchase programs, and people were thinking Build Back Better was coming. It's really going to be something where when you're looking at inflation this hot and economic growth, GDP growth this low, it really paints a disturbing picture. And I think this is the problem for the Fed, because they know they need to raise rates, but they're like, God, if we raise rates, we could easily put ourselves right back into a huge recession, Jason.
Right, and those growth numbers can also be kind of questionable, which is why they adjust them, I think. Is it really growth? Or some of those growth numbers just, hey, well, we're charging more for everything, so it looks like there's more money coming in. How much of the growth number is really growth, Joe? I don't see a lot.
Well, that's the problem. This number should have been based on inflation. We should have had number 6, 7, 8%, just to keep up with inflation, right?
Yep.
Really in an economy, a healthy economy, growth should always exceed inflation. When growth is and then now we got growth way below inflation, It really is something where, again, this is the box they put us in, and I promise you, what General Mills said today, and actually it was last night after their earnings report, that CEO was like, listen, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Everything costs more. The ingredients cost more. The packaging to put the stuff in cost more. All the equipment that we need, the maintenance that we need on the equipment costs more. The workers cost more, and the supply chain is an absolute disaster. Listen, Christmas season's over, and yet out in California, there's just as many ships, and really, honestly, there's probably more ships out there now than there was 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, the guy I was watching said 102 ships a couple days ago.
Yes, that's more. So how about this? So home sales. I want to give you another number, and then we're going to talk to Joey here in a minute. But I want to give you a number. Home sales today. Home sales for October, annualized rate about 6.5 million. Which is historically, okay, not great. That's what we would expect to see in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were down 2% year over year, so we are getting a little bit of a slowdown in housing. But I want to talk about the price. They were saying that of the homes that were sold, the strongest category, homes priced between $750,000 and $1 million, up 37% year over year. Those priced over $1 million, up 50%. Homes sold between $100,000 and $250,000, down 20%. Tells you all you need to know. You can thank the Fed. Here we are. We're in another housing bubble. This time created by the fact that everybody, you know what? People can't afford it. People can't afford. Think about sales. $750,000 is kind of like, that's almost like the first level of house you can buy, because all the cheaper homes, Jason, are being bought by the investors to rent to people.
Absolutely, Joe, and absolutely. And I've said this several times. I'll say it again, that let's just say in 2022 your house goes up. Let's say you have a $500,000 house, and by the end of 2022 it's now selling for $550,000. Hey, my house went up 10%. But if things are inflated, the things you're buying all around you are up 30% or 40%. Like my jug of water, which was $1, now it's $1.40. That's a housing crash price. You know, the stock market goes up 2%, but inflation goes up 30%. Those are crashing markets. That's a housing crash. That's a stock market crash. If they're going to limp up 2 or 3%, while everything else you cost that actually makes, you know, that really matters is going up 10-fold or 20-fold, Joe.
Yeah, and it's going to be really, really interesting, because remember, why are they buying all the housing? Because they can't go buy a treasury note and get a good yield. Even the banks don't leave their money in the bank. That should really tell you all you need to know about the banking industry. Even they don't leave it in there. You know, the repos overnight. By the way, that's another thing. We haven't really talked about the repo markets in a while, because we've just kind of accepted the fact that, it's a mess out there. The Fed has created a huge problem. It's just was noted that the Fed continues to add companies, and I say companies, to the reverse repo markets at the bank. Recently, Citibank, Goldman Sachs Bank, and the New York branch of Mizuho Bank, Mizuho, have all been added now to where they can leave their money at the Fed, because there's no safe place to put it, Jason.
Yeah, the reverse repo market will get worse next year also. So that we'll be reporting that, Joe. I'm sure as these repo markets. I don't know. In one way, you can call them. This is how we keep a market from crashing. Market. That's kind of what it is.
It is. Listen, it's for a banker. It's a great idea. Don't get me wrong, but it's a great idea to try to help prevent the crash. But here's the problem, right? And why it is so many people are putting gold and silver away. Why it is, I'm telling you, hey, if you got other money, right, get it out of there, get it into Joey's hand, get yourself protected, because again, they have to do these measures, and they don't announce them, they don't tell us they're happening because there's problems. And they're trying to cover it up. And you only can cover it up so much. Listen, they have pissed dollars all over the place. All over every corner of the room. There's not enough newspaper to cover it all up, Jason. And this is kind of what these repo markets are. They're trying to cover up the fact that they had an accident. And eventually, guess what? Mom's coming in the room to wake you up for breakfast, and she's going to see the newspaper. Patriot Radio News Hour. Get your money out of there before Mom shows up. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe Jaquint, Jason Walker. I got Joey here today. And we're talking about now all of a sudden the Goldman, Citibank, other banks now, they getting ready to win. Part of the reason why you want to be included in all of these things is if you're short some money, right? You can get some money lent to you overnight to cover all the things you got to pay out. And again, if a crash comes and people start panicking and want to get out of investments, it can be a very, very dangerous time. They put us in a terrible spot. Listen, there's two choices. They're very, very simple. Fight inflation, crash the market. Fight inflation, crash the market. Or don't fight inflation, and the market's still going to crash because inflation is going to be so overwhelming that it doesn't matter. I mean, think about it now. We're talking about 21 states raised the minimum wage. We talk about people saying, hey, listen, my company won't, I can get people to come to work, but my company won't authorize me to pay what I need to pay, because then everybody needs a raise and all of these things. And now General Mills just saying, listen, we're going to raise prices all year. All year. Used to be lucky maybe once a year that, we're going to raise prices a couple percent. Last year we saw companies raise prices 2, 3, and 4 times. 2022, we could see companies raising prices monthly. And I'm not kidding about that. Monthly. That's how bad things can be. And we brought Joey in today. We're going to talk about 401ks because there's a lot of movement in jobs recently, whether it be vaccine mandates. We're going to find out what the Supreme Court is going to rule. It looks like early January, the Supreme Court is going to announce its decision about the OSHA mandate and the more than 100 workers. We've seen a huge amount of people quitting jobs because they can get more money at another job. And Joey's been getting tons of calls. What are they? And you wanted to do what? The mistakes of 401ks to help people out there?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over the most common mistakes I'm seeing with most of my clients when they come to me. The biggest mistake I'm seeing is just multiple 401ks in different places. This means, it's very uncommon to stay at the same employer your entire career. You're moving around constantly. So let's say you worked at 3 jobs, 3 401ks. We should get that all bundled up into one IRA.
So let me ask you this. So, because you're right. Nobody, and I should say nobody here, as I've been here 20 years. If you're a small business owner, you do it. But most people that are, if you're working for the man, so to speak.
Right.
Used to be you graduated high school, you went to work for General Mills or General Motors, you went to work for Motorola or IBM or General Electric, right? And you worked there your whole career. That used to be how it went. now in this modern era, it's rare to have people work any place more than 4 or 5 years, even like 10 years. People are like, what? You've been here 10 years? Holy cow! So what's the advantage? What's wrong with having 3 different accounts versus one? What's the advantage of having the one versus the 3?
Well, when you have 3 accounts, that's 3 separate people you got to call. So you're calling Jamie, Tammy, and John, trying to get your retirement account situated, and then you got 3 different accounts. You're doing all this math, all this mumbo jumbo, instead of just calling one person in a single IRA where you know where your money's being worked for you and how your money's going. So I think it's just all in all a lot easier to put it all into one account. That way you're not calling people you don't even know.
Right. Or is anyone even doing anything? Right. You don't even know what's happening most of the time. But let me ask you this. What about dollar amount? Does dollar amount matter? In other words, if you've got $25,000 versus, say, if you put them all together, $100,000, do you save money by pooling that money together? Do fees get a little better, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, fees do get better the more money you put into your accounts. The $25,000 is the minimum we do at Northwestern, but as your account grows, the more money you put into it, the fees do get lower. It drops from 1% to a little bit less than 1%, depending on how much you have.
Wait a minute. You guys are at 1% or less?
Yep.
That's unheard of. Everybody's got the back doors and things. So that alone. So first mistake is having too many 401ks, right? You get them pooled together. You're going to save yourself money. You're going to save yourself some time. What's the second mistake?
Well, the second mistake is, kind of panicking. You're low on money, and you pull out from your 401k or IRA before the age of 59 and a half. You're going to get the 20% tax fee plus another 10%. So you pull out $100,000, you're actually pulling out $70K, and that goes to Uncle Sam, which that's what we don't want to do.
Yeah, and that's hard though, right? For some people, right? And this is what happened. Go back to I guess like the housing crisis and all of that. A lot of people did that,
yep.
Right? Trying to save the house, trying to save the cars. And your advice really to people is don't save them.
I mean, try not to. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. But if you can not pull out from your IRA before the age of 59 and a half, I encourage you to not do it. Go on your route. Maybe pick up an extra job. That money works for you. You pull out $70K. That's $70K that's not being invested no longer. When the market recovers, you're missing out on a lot.
But what about the argument, dude? And I've made this argument. What about tax? We don't know what taxes are going to be.
Taxes are only going to increase year after
year?
Right,
year after year. So for some people, they may be like, well, the government's going to get 20% anyway. I got to throw another 10% on top. Maybe it's worth it, and to some people, but. Another 10%, that'd be a lot of tax.
It is a lot of tax. It's a ton of money, which is also why you should be expanding your 401ks, not to just a regular 401k, but to a Roth 401k. Pay the taxes now rather than later when taxes are extremely high. So I think you should have 2 accounts, a regular IRA and then a Roth IRA, to kind of just, diversify your portfolio over your retirement accounts.
So there's IRAs and 401ks. There's 401k or a Roth. Is it a 401k or an IRA?
A 401k is with your company,
okay.
And then when you transfer it over to me, it turns into an IRA.
And you can do like a Roth one where you prepay the tax,
yeah,
so it's after tax, so you don't have to worry.
You pay the taxes now,
right? You don't have to worry about taxes later. That's another great option. So that's the second mistake is panicking and pulling the money when maybe there was other ways. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's unavoidable.
Sometimes you have to bite the bullet.
Right? You got to bite the bullet and do it. What else? So the first, too many, pulling it too soon.
And then I think the biggest one is, I like to say, is not taking the free money. This is them matching your 401k contributions. You pay 5%, they pay 5%. So technically, you're putting 10% of your check.
All right, we'll talk about that and all the other mistakes out there. We'll be right back. Patriot Radio News Hour. Don't touch that dial. 800-951-0592. Got Joey in here. He's my oldest boy in here, working a financial advisor at Northwestern Mutual, where, full disclosure, I am client of his, and we're talking about the most common mistakes in with handling 401ks, past and present. I have the Roth 401. That is, for me, that's the one, right? Because we all know, listen, taxes, whether it's today, tomorrow, next year, next administration, has to go way, way up. And so I like the paying the tax now versus having to do it later. But so you're talking about, having multiple 401 accounts. You should get those together. You're going to save yourself money. Try not, if you can avoid it at all costs, try not to pull your money before 59 and a half. And then the third one you were getting to, refresh us. You were just getting into it.
Yeah, the third one is, not taking what I like to call the free money.
This is if the company matches.
Yeah, they'll offer a match. It'll be in your employee benefits package. It should be in there. They'll either say we'll match 5% on the dollar, or maybe 5% will match 50% on the dollar,
or 25. Right. So
right.
Hey, we'll give you, for every dollar you put in, we'll give you 25 cents, and we'll do that up to
like 5%.
Right, 5% or 3%, whatever it is, whatever that match is. Mm-hmm. What you're saying is, if you can do it, man, it's a huge benefit to go to the maximum of the match.
Yes, always do the maximum. We like to tell
the maximum of the match.
Of the match.
Yeah.
And so usually that'll add up to around 10%, which is how much you should be putting into that 401k. So they match 5%, you put in 5, you're getting a 5% discount on getting to where you need to be in retirement.
So it just helps you build it up as fast as you can in maximizing free money.
Exactly.
Right. And that's just good sense. You got to know these things. You got to ask them, hey, is there a match? If there's not a match, because a lot of companies have been taking those away from there, then at that point, you do what you can do. But if there is a match, take advantage of it.
Yeah, if your company has a match, you're a lucky person. And if you don't take advantage of it, you're just wasting money, in my opinion. And then lastly, the last mistake I kind of wanted to go over was just accepting the default investment allocation with your 401k. So this is when you just are starting it with your company, and they give you this whole sheet, a portfolio, cookie cutter sheet, and they're just like, hey, take this default investment and then call it a day and then see you later. That's not what you should be doing. If you're a younger person, you should set up your 401k to be super risky, because over 40 years you have until retirement. The market will be up, and up big over 40 years. But whereas if you're in your 50s, 60s, near in retirement, you should be very conservative with your money, as the market fluctuates a ton. That way you make sure you're getting your gains when you need it, but not riding that roller coaster of a stock market. So it's just all about making sure you invest based upon your age and risk tolerance.
So earlier on, you can try to be a little more risky. Your portfolio is going to fluctuate a lot more, is what you're saying?
It'll be it's like being in all equities, not really in any mutual funds like that. It will be a roller coaster when looking at it. It's kind of scary, but after 20 years, you change that into being very conservative and put more mutual funds and ETFs. And that way, your money's back to being conservative, and you kind of maximized out. You were risky when you could be, and then by the time you got older and getting near retirement, you made sure your dollars were safe.
How do people get a hold of you if they want to talk about their investments?
If you want to get a hold of me, just reach me at my cell, 602-909-9048, and that is my personal cell number, so I'm always on the phone. Just shoot me a text or a call, and I'd be happy to talk to you.
So they can call you, they can text you. Once again, 602-909-9048. Next week, I think next Wednesday, we're going to talk about life insurance, long-term care insurance with Joey as well, because he does all of that as well. So just things to look out for, especially in this day and age. The job market has changed dramatically. You're switching jobs. You're doing all of those things. Call Joey. He can help you pay the least amount of fees, get the biggest bang for your buck. That's what it's all about. If you want to get one of those Roth accounts where the taxes are already paid, so you don't have to worry about what's coming up next. give Joey a call, 602-909-9048. By the way, I just noticed crude oil. We got to start talking about it again. The Biden administration has been releasing oil from the strategic oil reserve, and the numbers came out today, and they're between commercial inventories and the strategic oil reserve. Crude oil was down 7.25 million barrels, which was a lot more than they thought. Crude rising. Right now, they've been pulling almost 5 million barrels a day out of the strategic stockpile, just, Jason, to try to keep this price under control through the Christmas holidays. The problem with it is they can't keep doing this forever. And when this program ends, crude oil looks like it's going to be an ugly spring.
I think Biden wants the prices to go up dramatically at some point so that he can sell his Green New Deal. You know, obviously, Manchin not voting for his plan is sort of a roadblock for him. It's a little hiccup for him. I'm sure some Republican will probably get paid off to step into that vote, or Manchin will relent at some point. But
yeah, I think they're going to come to a deal with Manchin. I'm more convinced of it than ever, because remember, in this, you know, what is it called, Build Back Better, or I forget the word he's been using.
Yeah, Build Back Better.
About this money, and somehow his Nobel laureates that he's going to lower inflation with it. $7,500 credits for the electric car. So to Jason's point, I think you're absolutely right. As soon as he gets that passed, the sooner crude oil gets to $100 a barrel or more, probably the happier the guy's going to be. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592, U.S. $20 Liberties. Prices here right now. We got gold up almost $11 here, stalking 1,800, 17.99. We got $20 Liberties, 2,075. And then silver now, 22.75 here, up another 20-some cents today. Getting a little healthier here. Last day on rolls of Silver Eagles at 690. So you got two choices there. You got gold, you got silver. $20 Liberties, 2,075. Rolls of Silver Eagles at 690. At 800-951-0592. This just coming out of China. Yian, Xian. It's a city of 13 million people. The Chinese government has ordered a lockdown. It started at midnight. It will last indefinitely, saying one person from each household will be permitted out once every 2 days. That is it, to buy household necessities. Otherwise, the city of 13 million people is closed. There is no transportation, no one allowed out on the roads. There's no flights in, no flights out. Jason, and again, this is, you know, we're very reliant on things from China, and I'm sure this is going to have more impact. This is more inflation is going to be coming out of this.
This is what they'll point the finger at when things break down economically, and there's just economic panic across the world. And it's coronavirus. It's coming. We'll talk on the next hour with the Half Empty Cup of Joe with Kevin LaRusso. I think he's going to talk a little bit of Fauci, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Biden speech. And Biden's speech, you got to look at it. You got to read between the lines. That was a warning. That was a warning, to everybody about what's coming. That's all that speech was.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, and we've been saying it for a long time.
Dark winter. He's the one that coined it. Dark winter, and he did his speech right on the first day of winter, Joe.
And I'm going to tell you, yeah, that's true. They planned it that way to be on the 21st. And I'm going to say this, according to, this is Reuters reporting here, this is the harshest lockdown in China since the start of this. They're calling this reminiscent of what happened in Wuhan, where people were, essentially locked into their homes. No one's allowed to leave. No one's allowed in. only one person in each household can leave the house to buy necessities, and you're only allowed to do it once every 2 days. And I'm sure I'm sure it's probably the Omicron. If this thing spreads, then this is how China's dealing with it. You got to remember, China's got the Winter Games coming up. So I could see a scenario, Jason, really, really easily where a lot of the country's going to get shut down before the Winter Olympics. It's just going to make life a nightmare on supply chains.
That's exactly where I was going to go. Hey, we're going to shut the whole city down because of this invisible thing that's really not going to do any damage. But we're going to tell you it's the worst thing ever. And then a couple of months into 2022, what do you got? Oh, empty shelves in America, but China couldn't do anything about it. They had to shut down for the big boogeyman. It's happening, Joe. It's such a shell game.
God bless everybody. We've got one more show tomorrow before we shut her down for the Christmas holidays.